Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. Reverence. Reverence means to guard or to treat with deep respect. For example, many people have reverence for their parents or the family members and hold them in high regard. And in our Old Testament story today, Jacob shows a lack of respect for his father, his brother, for ancient traditions. So let's hear the story.
When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called his elder son Esau and said to him, "My son," and he answered, "Here I am." He said, "See, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out into the field and hunt game for me. Then prepare for me savory food, such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may bless you before I die."
A common tradition in the world for a father to give his blessing to his eldest son. Now, Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau, who were likely born only minutes apart since they were twins, but Esau was the elder. Esau was this skilled hunter, and his brother Jacob was more skilled in domestic matters. Their father Isaac wanted to give his blessing to Esau. Isaac favored Esau, and their mother, though, Rebekah, she favored Jacob. Do you know any families like this, where a parent favors one child over another? I don't recommend it. It leads to unfairness, resentment. It doesn't foster a healthy relationship between the children. But that's why these biblical stories are so helpful. They show us flawed people who are still called by God to serve. Their mom favors Jacob. Esau goes out to hunt, but Rebekah has other plans, and she encourages Jacob to trick Esau and to secure his blessing. We continue.
Then Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and then put them on her younger son Jacob. And she put the skins of the kids on his hands and the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed the savory food and the bread that she had prepared to her son Jacob.
Isaac's vision is poor, so he has to rely on his sense of touch to feel his son's hairy arms and his neck.
Father and said, "My father," and he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near, that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went up to his father Isaac, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him.
Isaac's blessing centers on fertility, saying, "May God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine." And Isaac's blessing also focuses on dominion, saying, "Let people serve you, nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. And blessed be everyone who blesses you." So now the deception has occurred. Isaac has blessed Jacob, believing he was blessing Esau. And of course, now Esau returns from his hunting trip, and he brings Isaac the savory food and bread. Both Isaac and Esau realize Jacob's deception. Now Esau plans to kill Jacob, and Rebekah advises Jacob to leave town.
Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night, because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place.
Jacob is on the run, and at first things aren't going well. He finds this spot in the wilderness, and he doesn't even have a pillow, so he grabs a stone. And probably the only thing valuable about the stone was its size, definitely not its softness.
And he dreamed that there was a stairway set upon the earth, the top of it reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And the Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread about to the west and to the east, and to the north and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your offspring. Know that I am with you, and I will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you.
Dreams may serve as a means of divine revelation. And the Bible mentions these occurrences. It's one of the ways that God communicates with us. Now, when we sleep, we go into different dream states. The problem, though, is that most of us don't get enough sleep. And before the advent of electricity and the light bulb, if you went back some 150 years, people slept an average of 9 to 10 hours a night. Today, the average is 7 to 8 hours, and I'm below that. One theologian observed that by setting aside more time for sleeping, for dreaming, for drifting in and out of these states, we create more opportunities for God to communicate with us. Perhaps modernization and these modern conveniences cause us to miss out on chances to encounter God. But God speaks to Jacob through a dream. He promises him land, descendants, and to be a blessing. And Jacob now, he wasn't expecting an encounter with God. He's on the run. Jacob's reverence is born out of unexpected grace. God meets him despite his deception.
Then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven.
We read that Jacob took the stone and he set it up as a pillar. He poured oil on it, and he named the place Bethel, which means house of God. Jacob has an encounter with God and learns a thing or two about reverence, marking the site as a holy place where God has made and renewed a covenant now with him. God affirms the covenant made with Abraham and Isaac, promising Jacob land and numerous descendants. Jacob deceives his father, steals a blessing, and is still chosen by God. God's grace often shows up in the middle of our mess, not because we deserve it, but because God is faithful. Have you ever had an encounter with God? I can't tell you exactly what that experience will be like, but I can share some examples. An encounter might be a dream. It could be a feeling of peace and the presence of God. And my examples aren't all exclusive. There are many others. An encounter could be a compliment or a simple question of someone just saying, "How are you?" It might be one of those days when you're lost in your thoughts and someone says something that feels like it's a message from heaven. I remember being a young man in my late teens, quietly considering the ministry, when a fellow karate instructor told to me, he was a little older than me and he's in his 30s, and he said I should pursue the ministry, just randomly out of the blue. It was as if God was reading my mind and speaking directly to me through him. An encounter with the divine could be marveling at the beauty, balance, or presence of the natural world. In places like Alaska, where the land remains largely untouched, the beauty of God's handiwork is unmistakable. It's a moment of reverence when reverence happens, it's a moment when time stands still, and all your attention is on that one thing and nothing else. The mountain, the sea otter, the patient in the hospital, or a stone for a pillow for Jacob. Now, our theme this week again is humanity's response to God. And Jacob's response was to consecrate the site as holy, to rename it as Bethel, which Bethel later became a place of worship for the northern kingdom of Israel. What is our response to God? Is there a time, is there a place, is there an encounter or a stone that you can identify as holy in your life? I've experienced many, and I look back upon them fondly. And I believe that God is present in the lives of all people on this earth because God is invested in humanity. The problem is that humanity doesn't recognize it. Now, Pastor Brad and I have begun working with our first confirmation class together. It's a joint effort between Redeemer and Divinity. And one of the things we are doing is we are inviting people to come and share their faith stories with the confirmands. It's important to hear them because it helps us understand the many ways that God comes to us in our lives. I'd like you to take some time this week and reflect on encounters you've had with God in your life. Try to think of just one if you're struggling. And you're always welcome to share it with me if you so desire. I would love to hear it. Next, how do you mark such an experience as holy in your life? You don't have to pour oil on it, but taking a moment to remember and thank God for the experience and for the encounter, and then in some other way or another, think about sharing it. You may share it by retelling it, or you may repeat the actual act and pass it on. I remember a letter from a family friend, Mr. Hartwig, that he wrote to me at my confirmation when I was in 8th grade. It said personal on it, and I thought, well, that's interesting. His letter shared his faith and revealed to me that the warming of my heart was coming from God. So when a coworker, just a few months back, asked if I would write her daughter a letter for her confirmation, I did so with joy. I know how important it is for a teenager to hear an adult share his or her faith. And quite often, in sharing my faith, I experience another encounter with the divine. My prayer is for you to take time and to reflect on encountering God. Like Jacob, God meets us in unexpected ways, even when we are not living reverently. Consider your life, including the people, the moments, and the places where the divine felt near. Spend extra time resting and drifting off to sleep, and then think of ways to honor these moments. Reverence is our response to recognizing God's presence through dreams, nature, people, pivotal moments in our lives. And then mark and share these holy moments, keeping God's presence and instruction alive in our lives. And maybe we will be able to say like Jacob, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And when we do, may we respond with reverence. Amen.